zombies. Everybody likes them, and if you know someone who doesn't, they maybe try and cover up something. But how would the typical working class citizen survive a zombie apocalypse? Could they wait out the storm, or would they get bitten in turn, just like every other moron out there? Well, with this guide, you should really not be watching this video if you actually want hard information on a zombie apocalypse. This is just the ill-informed brainchild of some random 15-year-old. But before we get into any of the specifics, just a warning. I'm probably going to get some of the stuff wrong in this guide, and I can't cover every specific scenario of a zombie apocalypse. Your plan to survive could be drastically different if you live in an apartment than a house, or if you have a shit ton of money. But for the sake of this video, we'll assume that you live in a house in the suburbs where it's not too packed so you have a chance of survival, but still kinda packed so you aren't just alone out there. And we'll also assume that you aren't rich. That way you don't just have an easy way out. Okay, cool? Let's do this! Alright, the first step on our road to the apocalypse regards what kind of zombies we're going to be dealing with, as a difference in the kind of zombie can drastically change how we would go about defending ourselves against them. Now, I'm no zombie expert, but I do know someone who is, and they'd know exactly how to approach this kind of a problem. Alright, our zombie expert on the field is now inspecting some coins he found on the ground.
Hey, free money, buddy.
Alright, Blaze, you're the regional zombie expert in the field.
Thank you, thank you.
So what can you tell us about the difference between the different kinds of zombies that there are? The supernatural zombies, the viral zombies, and the fungal zombies.
Well, there are three main types that you have listed: viral, fungal, and supernatural. Now, supernatural zombies are, I feel, the least dangerous of all of them.
Supernatural, really?
Supernatural, yes.
But they're like space, they're like aliens. Like, why wouldn't they?
Well, they can be aliens. Aliens summoned by Necromancer. There are many opinions on this, but I feel that they're the least dangerous because they present the least amount of threat. Yes, they can be summoned if you are near a graveyard, or yes, they can appear if you are near space. But killing them is honestly the easiest out of all the different kinds of zombies. You don't have to worry about infection.
Yeah.
You just have to worry about brain shots, headshots.
And then, like, of course, in real life, supernatural zombies are, like, probably, like, the least likely to happen, I'm guessing?
I would certainly hope so. Now, viral. This is where things get dangerous. With viral zombies, such as in the films 28 Days Later, or World War Z, among other films, Dawn of the Dead, really most zombie media, I would say. These are where you get dangerous, because not only, biting, clawing, and all that can infect you, but blood is also an issue, which makes melee combat very hard, because if, blood gets in, say, an open wound, in your eye, or anything like that, you can become infected very quickly.
Alright, you were saying we had to relocate because the wind was too much.
Now, we get to a third category, which, in my opinion, is the most likely and most terrifying? You probably know it as fungal zombies. Now, fungal zombies are extremely dangerous because they are, unfortunately, possible, though not plausible. Now, fighting these would be extremely difficult, because not only would you have to worry about blood and matter getting on you from these creatures, but nearly being around them, you would have to have a gas mask of some sort, because of the spores getting near you. And in a fungal zombie situation, your objective is to survive. You're not trying to kill as many of these things as you can as you get away. You're just trying to get away and live out your life alone in some sort of bunker. Honestly, it sounds like hell.
So from what Blaze said, there seems to be three distinct kinds of zombies: fungal, viral, and alien. But out of all of them, the most dangerous, as he said, are the fungal kind. And it checks out. Fungal zombies are going to be the most pervasive, and while they won't live for that long as they spread their spores, they are going to be incredibly dangerous. But how exactly do these zombies act? Zombies are portrayed slightly differently in all kinds of media, and for that reason, we need to come up with some zombie traits, things distinct to our zombies in particular, so we can plan and strategize around them. And the first of these traits is going to be the all-too iconic speed. For the sake of your potential safety, these zombies are going to be slow, walking speed slow to be exact, as we're assuming that this fungus takes a substantial amount of energy off of humans to survive and grow as is, and so running zombies, fortunately, are out of the picture. Now, another thing that varies quite a lot from depiction to depiction is the method of infection. Sometimes it's only through biting, sometimes it's by way of food and spores like The Last of Us, and sometimes it's completely aerosolized. But I'm going to be taking a page from all of their books, meaning that you can get infected if zombie blood, saliva, or other fluids get into your body via an open wound or through your mouth, or if you breathe in or otherwise ingest the spores let off by the fungus. Now, there is an asterisk there, because you won't get infected with just a single spore. That would be kind of ridiculous. You of course have to be safe, but you aren't exactly going to inhale a single spore from the fungus and immediately turn. The method of infection leaves us open to quite a lot of possibilities. First and foremost, biting. But what concerns me more is the second method, specifically the phrase, or otherwise ingest the spores. Now, why am I focusing on that point in particular? Because of food. Mold, or in our case, fungi, loves to grow on food. The more water and the less light there is, the better of a home it is for mold. And it just so happens that our fungal pathogen is pretty similar to mold. Now, this is going to make things quite a bit harder later down the line, but for now, we can ignore that and talk about much more exciting matters, like murdering zombies. To kill a zombie, you must damage its brain enough to the point where it can't function. Okay, pretty simple stuff for this one. While you can't necessarily kill fungus, you can stop it from growing and spreading. And since our zombie fungus relies on humans as hosts, the best way to stop those hosts is to, well, bash their heads in. And finally, as a kind of extra thing, I've seen a lot of video games, movies, and TV shows, zombies that seem to have a GPS tracker on them, always updating them to your location. And that seems a bit ridiculous. And so in this scenario, zombies don't just know where you are. In fact, because the pathogen is so disruptive to a human brain, effectively making it dumber, zombies will only recognize you if they can sense you. For example, if every house in town is ravaged except yours, the zombies can't use reason to figure out that you're probably in that house. They have to see, hear, or otherwise sense that you're there. And finally, our last zombie trait is lifespan. How long exactly will these zombies live for? Now, immediately after being infected, the fungus will make its way around your body, planting itself deep inside your system, so that, in a matter of just a couple days, you're a full-on zombie. From here, you'll live for a few more days, antagonizing and trying to spread yourself to as many humans as possible, and after a short 7 days, you'll be dead. And so, if you don't want that to happen to you, then you're gonna have to do some planning. Oh, look at that, that's the next section. So, since you're intent on surviving in the hellish wasteland that is a zombie apocalypse, then you're going to have a list of things to keep yourself safe. And what quite possibly is more essential to you, not dying, than food? If you can, stock up on as much long-lasting, concealed, or canned food to have in your basement. This kind of food is going to be very useful during the weeks immediately after the outbreak, because 1, you limit your need to leave your house and risk getting confronted by a hungry zombie, but 2, and much more importantly, you don't want to ingest any contaminated food that could have mold and therefore zombie fungus on it. And water is much the same. You want to stock up a reserve of water and boil or otherwise sanitize it to get rid of any potentially lethal diseases and fungus. Remember, you're not just trying to survive the zombies, but also in general. And with all the stores probably abandoned, you'll have to vet everything you're letting into your house and body. Okay, now that the bare essentials are done, we can move on to safety, starting with weapons. Okay, so the first obvious pick here are guns. They're easy to use and they will absolutely get the job done. But you can run into some real problems with ammunition and supply. Not everybody has a gun, and so not everybody's going to be able to defend themselves. No, instead you'll want something ranged. Assuming that you aren't totally stacked for the zombie apocalypse and have like dozens of guns, you'll probably be able to throw together a slingshot of sorts, and if need be, you can always just throw some rocks at the zombies and try to slow them down that way. In situations with fungal zombies, the goal shouldn't be to kill them, rather to fend them off and then escape, and at all costs avoid close quarters interaction. Now, offense is important, but what's even more important is defense, and the first line of defense for you is going to be your home or other place of living. Although, if you live in an apartment, then you're kinda screwed. Get in your basement if you have one, and under no circumstances should you turn lights in your house on or off, walk across windows, or do anything that could alert the zombies to your position. You're gonna want to stay on the down low, and make sure that nothing gets in. Because if even so much as a shadow appears through your window, then it could be game over for you. And because of that, if you can, nail wood over every window in your house. Or at least on every window on the bottom floor, to prevent anything, bad from happening. And of course, if need be, jam as much shit in front of the door to put as much space between you and the zombies as possible. But defense goes further than just 4 walls and a roof. Don't forget, this is a fungal pathogen, the scariest kind, because it means that shit floats in the air, and even if you get just a little bit in your system, you could be toast. You're gonna ideally want a gas mask, but if you don't have one of those, then that leftover N95 mask from the pandemic is gonna be your friend. Use mask whenever you need to, and of course, around, zombies. Fucking, I don't need to tell you that shit. And I think that's it. Eat when you're hungry, drink when you're thirsty, and pray you can wait out the probably short lifetime of a zombie. So when you need to, you can get more food and water. But something's missing. Sure, you're alive and doing better than most, but you probably want more. You can feel yourself getting more and more depressed of your will to live by the day. So how to fix this? Well, you'll have to take a risk, which means leaving your home, your fortress. But if you're dedicated enough, you could find other people, build relationships, and heck, even rebuild society. Assuming there's no society to rebuild. Hold on, did I forget something in the script? Oh, yeah! Other people! Well, I didn't exactly write a section on how to deal with crazy apocalyptic gangs. Just talk it out, you'll be fine. Plus, you probably watched this far in the video just because you want to hear a deranged person talk about ensuring your food is safe to eat. Not actually fucking how to deal with, angry people who want to steal all your food and kill you. I really, truly have no solution to this. But why talk about this? I know that people like to make up apocalyptic scenarios in their heads, but zombies just seem so random, so unrealistic. Like, a zombie apocalypse couldn't happen in real life, right? Well, yes, actually. In fact, this mysterious zombie fungus I've been talking about is real, and it's called the cordyceps. The cordyceps infect insects like ants, spiders, and moths. It works by attaching itself to the exoskeleton of the insect and then penetrating through it, infecting the host. At this point, the insect's behavior switches, and instead of going with the rest of the colony, the fungus compels the ant to climb onto a leaf or branch about 10 inches off the ground, where it is eaten from the inside out by the fungus, dies, the fungus sprouts from the head of the insect, and the cycle continues, infecting more insects and releasing more spores. Although, unlike regular zombies, the cordyceps seems to infect the muscles of the insect instead of the brain. So for the entire time the fungus has control of the insect will be fully aware and alert. And this makes total sense in relation to our zombie traits. From the slower movement speed because the fungus literally eats you from the inside out, to the absolute precautions you need to use if you're in the presence of cordyceps spores. But before you start stocking your shelves with beef jerky, there's a giant caveat to this whole thing. And it ensures that this kind of scenario would never actually happen for humans. And the reason for that is heat. Now, the basal body temperature of a human is around 98 degrees Fahrenheit. 36.6 degrees Celsius for the British, and these are simply conditions too extreme for a fungus like cordyceps to function in. It basically shuts down, unable to grow or spread. And so in its current state, the cordyceps is completely unable to infect humans. Now, in the Last of Us TV show, this is actually brought up. In the very first scenes of the show, they talked about this, and how if the planet were to warm up, the fungus could adapt and become more heat resistant. And that would be absolutely terrifying, if not for the fact that the planet would have to warm up 28 degrees to house cordyceps that could infect humans. And if that did happen, we already would have died like 10 times over. So I can confidently say that a zombie apocalypse like the one shown in The Last of Us, I don't know, could happen, but the circumstances would have to be drastically different than how they are today. So you can rest easy tonight knowing that you aren't going to wake up to the zombie apocalypse tomorrow morning. Probably.